Hello, everybody. I'm That One Cat, and welcome to something special. I feel like recently my animation style has gotten a lot better, and I wanted to go back and show my Fortnite animation because I feel like this is the turning point where my animations went from kind of shitty to me giving a shit. I know that sounds terrible, but I feel like most of the time when I do animations, I didn't give it enough effort. I didn't put all my effort into it. For those who don't know, I used to do Dungeoneer cartoons. I've been doing animations for about 3 years, and previous to that, I never did any sort of drawing. I never had any background art. So animation was this brand new thing that I just jumped into. But I feel like I never gave it a good shot. I never took it seriously. I just sort of did it, and I had some success. I had some failures, but I feel like the success was mostly just luck and just YouTube kind of like letting me have some success. The YouTube gods smiled upon me for no good reason. But recently, within the past couple months, I've been really taking it seriously. I've been taking my artwork more seriously. I've been practicing more, studying more, and I really want to see myself as an artist and as an animator. So, I've been studying a lot. I've been learning a lot, and I've been applying it to my recent animations. And the reason why I'm starting with this one, because I do have other ones that I've done before this one, obviously. But the reason why I picked this one is because I feel like this one is the one where my style really starts to kind of take off. Or not my style, but my the quality starts to kind of increase a little bit. And you'll see it because like it's kind of funny because I started this like months ago, and I stopped because I kind of took a break from everything for a while, and I was just doing streaming on Twitch and whatnot. I was just doing games, and I kind of took a step back from animation, and in that time I was like learning a lot of stuff. So I came back to this animation halfway through and started applying all the things that I've learned. So you'll see about halfway through this, all of a sudden it starts to get like a lot better. Even like the way the cat is drawn changes a little bit. So I thought it was just kind of cool to show this one. And Ego Raptor did a video where he showed Poke Awesome, which is one of my favorite cartoons he's made. And he did this thing where he went through it and he showed how he made it, showed how he did different things. And I just thought it was really cool. And even if you're not into animation, hopefully this will still be entertaining or something. I don't know. So if you want to see some cool stuff, then stick around. I think a reason why my quality has gone up so much is because I recently purchased this. It's Richard Williams' The Animator Survival Kit. It's an awesome book. Awesome book if you want to be an animator. It applies to all sorts of styles too. So it doesn't matter what style of animation you use. Sorry, I banged the arm of the microphone here. It doesn't matter what kind of style of animation you do because it's kind of applicable to all styles. Like that's kind of how he does it. Is he makes it very simple so that it doesn't matter how you draw things or whatever. It's all like fundamentals of animation that you should know, and it's really cool. So go check it out. All right, so without further ado, here's the cartoon. Here's Jack as a cat. Here's his white gloves. It's kind of funny because he's not gonna have those halfway through the cartoon, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So I usually start every animation of Jack's with his top of the morning to you and the slap of the screen. I just think it's really funny. It just fits. It's like a really animated thing anyway. But I sometimes try to take the slapping noise and turn it into something different. So it's always like the slapping of the screen, but sometimes I try to use the audio as if the sound effect is for something else. So in the Spider-Man cartoon, the one that I made after this one, the sound of him slapping the screen is actually the sound of him swinging onto the screen then falling. And that's what makes it fun. Like, that's what being an animator is really cool, because then you can take people's audio and just turn it into whatever you want to. So you can create this whole new narrative using their audio, and that's what I like to do. Like, it'd be stupid if I just animated exactly what was happening on the screen, because that'd be super boring. So he could be, running through a hallway or something, or he's shooting someone, but as an animator, you can take that and you can turn it into whatever you want it to be. So he could be saying something really mundane, but in a completely different context, it could be super funny. So he could say something like, oh, there's something in my way, and in the game it might just be a boulder, but in animation land, you can turn into like some giant fat monster or something, and it's cool to like use your imagination to create whatever you want to do. All right, so the first thing that I wanted to point out in terms of my quality getting better compared to how it was is right here. So a key pose is essentially anytime the character changes a position. So like this is a key pose, this is a key pose, you know. And then in between keys, or sorry, in between frames are the frames that kind of smooth out the motion. So like frame, 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 like you know what I mean. So here's a position and here's a position. Now a good animator would animate the hands moving, animate the head moving, maybe have the hair kind of flutter a little bit as his head kind of settled into the next pose. But what my jackass stupid face did is just skew the frame. I skewed the frame a little bit, and then he just pops into the next frame. There's literally no frames in between. It's just boom, boom, boom. He just skews a little bit. That's really it. That's a bad thing to do. Well, not necessarily bad. I still do it ever so often, but if you do it throughout the entire animation, it just starts to look really jittery, and it just looks kind of lazy, and I overuse that too much because it's sort of a cheat, you know. It's you're not really drawing the motion, you're just drawing like keyframe, and then he just kind of like skews in between the two. So you can use that, but using it all the time is a no-no. And if you look at my old cartoons on Dungeoneer Cartoons, and even some of the cartoons on this channel, you see me using that a lot. So now we go to the next scene here. So here he is peering out from behind a tree. I think I'm still okay. As you can see, he's very stretched out at the moment, and this is a technique that I overused too much. So all these drawings are not different drawings. They're simply the same drawing, just skewed. It's stretched out, and this is something that Looney Tunes did. SpongeBob does this too, but they do it a lot more professionally, I feel like, because I just literally like just stretched it out, and you'll see that like I start to get better and start doing a lot more professional things. So another animation no-no, something that I did way too often, was use tweens. So what a tween is the program fills in the frames in between, and it's usually for stuff that just moves across the screen. Just like simple movements, like if the shape stays the same and it moves across, you can use a tween. There's also like shape tweens, but I never understood those because all shape tweens seem to do is they just like morph stuff. I never figured. If you know how to use shape tweens, let me know. I just, it's like theoretical physics trying to figure that shit out. But here's a case of a tween here. So Jack is gonna pop up from behind this behind this barricade here, and these aren't separate frames. I mean, they are separate frames, but they're not separately drawn. It's the same one, but just used multiple times to smooth out the thing. I mean, tweens aren't bad either, but again, if you use them too much, it makes it look too robotic, I guess, because it's not very lively. It doesn't feel animated. It just feels really robotic, and you see it a lot in like really low budget, like what was it called? Like Go Animate. If you ever seen Go Animate, where it's all like clunky and like everything faces the same direction, it's always like ha 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 ha, like everything moves like a creepy marionette cardboard thing. That's essentially how I did all my animations, so it's kind of embarrassing looking back on it, but you know, you live and you improve, I guess. And if you zoom in really close to the board, these nails look like eyes, and it looks like the thing's gonna talk. It's just, do you like Fortnite? There's also, I just noticed this now, there's a circle that pops up for like a second. I don't know if that's in the actual animation. I really hope I just did that now. Whoops. So this is the point where I learned a lot more about frame-by-frame animation, and I came back to this animation and started applying some of the things I had learned. It's still like really basic, but I brought some new stuff to the table here. So he's gonna get hit in the head with a brick, boink, and as you can see, it's actually not tweened. These are all individual frames. Let me lock this. These are all individual frames, and Let me show you them all. So the brick starts to come from off screen. It stretches to show a little bit of movement. And then, I don't know why it stretches again. Why did I do that? I don't know why. Don't do that. I don't know why it went back to normal shape. It should be stretched in that frame too. But it comes across, it connects, and I drew a different head. We show like a little bit more impact here, like the object. You know, I should have did like a little bit of like a recoil with the thing. Like it should have like hit and then kind of like, whoa, like kind of, I don't know. I don't know how to explain what I'm saying. I skewed, like I'm still doing the skews, still doing the blurs, but this is a different frame. We still got the brick in his head. This is just rotated and then he disappears. All right, so this is, oh Jesus Christ, this is the part where I started to learn how to do walk cycles, and I've done walk cycles before, but they didn't really look that good, or I just sort of like I only showed like the waist up, or I just showed like a little bit of the legs. I don't think I've ever done like a full-on walk cycle, so I was still pretty new to it and reading the book, and I was like kind of looking through how to do it. I keep hitting the microphone, I'm really sorry. But I thought at first, so let me show you the sketch. So the thing that, oh god, the thing that made me want to do this animation was this guy right here. I've kind of like, I don't know, I haven't caught the Fortnite fever. I played it maybe twice. I was horrible at it, and ever since then I'm not really that interested in it. So I originally was just gonna do the bendy one in place of this one, or the Spider-Man one in place of this one. But the thing that made me want to do this animation was because of this bear, or whatever the hell this thing is, because I just thought it looked really funny, and I was like, oh my god, that'd be funny to like animate that. And I had this idea, because in this part of the animation, Jack is looking around at everyone and says like, all these people have cool skins and weapons and stuff, and he has nothing. So I wanted to animate this guy walking around. In the sketch, here's the sketch. Let me see if I can get rid of this stuff. So here's the sketch of him walking. And god, now that I see this, I think this looks awful, but I had a sketch of him walking, and when I first did that, I thought it looked really good. I honestly thought that looked really cool, and I was like, oh my god, like he's moving, like there's frames, and he's in motion, and he's alive, and I was like, oh, this looks really cool. But then okay, so I basically, what I did here, let me break this down a little bit. I have him inside of a symbol. So a symbol is a collection of frames that you can play over and over again. And then you can kind of, it's almost like a GIF. Think of it like a GIF, and you can move the GIF around on the timeline. So it's a collection of animation that you can just put anywhere. It's really handy to use, especially for walk cycles or if there's like a lot of movement. And I put it together, and here he is walking. Let me loop this for you so you can see it in all of its loopiness. So here he is. That's what I thought was a walk cycle at the time. And holy jumping Jesus, that looks really bad. It just looks like he's constantly having to pee his pants, and he's looking for a toilet. So yeah, so that's the animation, is just him doing that. And then there's a tween of him moving across the screen like this. So the tween kind of handles the horizontal motion, and that's just like a cool thing to do. That makes things a lot easier. So, but I tried. That's the important part. That's the important part to take away from this, is that I tried something new, and it didn't look, I mean, I don't know, it looks funny, but it didn't look as good. I also forgot to put a shadow. I think it would have made it more effective if I put a shadow underneath him. All right, here's another example of why the hell did he do this. In the part that, because I wanted to keep using this audio, because there's a clip of audio right here that was really funny and it fit, but there was an explosion in the background, and it sounds like Jack is reacting to the explosion, so it wouldn't make sense if I didn't animate the explosion. And I don't know how to animate an explosion, so I thought this looked really cool. So what we have here, so let's go off canvas here. I have this circle, and what the circle does is it expands, and then it kind of alphas, or whatever it's called. The opacity goes all the way down. So at the time, I thought that looked pretty neat. It was a cool little explosion, but now that I see it now, it looks like some crappy Newgrounds explosion game. What was it? There was like a tank game. There was a tank game where there was explosions, and that looks like one of the explosions. Needless to say, it looks poopy. So let me briefly explain what this was. I think this is actually where I end, because I think I went back and did the brick animation when I learned a little bit more about frame by frame. But I think this is where I stopped with the sketches. This is where I stopped with like the, because what I like to do is I'll do a sketch, like I'll sketch out like a storyboard. I think this is where I ended with the storyboard for the animation. And he says, I'm Johnny Normal Bones, because he's looking at all the other players and all their other cool stuff, and he doesn't have any cool gear or skins or anything. And he says he's Johnny Normal Bones, and I could not think of any joke or anything. Like at the time, I thought of something really funny, but then I forgot because I came back to the animation later, and I was like, what the hell did I have planned for Johnny Normal Bones? So the only thing I could think of was to draw him as a skeleton. I don't even know if this is anatomically correct for a cat person, but yeah, I don't know what the hell I was thinking. This was, I think this is what killed my motivation for this animation, is because I made this scene here, and I was just like, that's stupid. Like, it's not even funny at all. But here's where things get good. I know I said previously the first thing I did was I went back to the brick hitting his head, but this is where I started the new sketches. So this is where I started to kind of do a little bit more with the frames and all that stuff. So there's a part where he's looting, and I wanted to do like a really cool animation that was really fun, and like it like bounced, and you know he had like a rhythm to him going through the chest, and I didn't want to, because like originally I was just gonna have him like duck his head into the chest and he wouldn't do anything. There would be like no motion or anything, and then that way I wouldn't have to animate the mouth, I wouldn't have to animate anything. I could just have like a frame where nothing's happening, and that's how I thought about animation when I was like, I was always thinking about where can I take a shortcut, and that's obviously not good to do things that way, because it looks lazy and it's not fun, and but this is where I started, you know, getting a lot more technical and cool. All right, so here we have him in this treasure chest, and his butt bobs up and down along with the tail, so it kind of has like a rhythm to it, and then after a period of time, after it goes up and down a couple times, just to kind of like set the rhythm, every time it comes up, his arm comes out, and I actually drew each arm. I mean, they're not like super detailed, but I drew each arm. I tweened the items coming out of the chest, but I tried to make them look nice, and you know, tried to make the arc look a little bit realistic. And then the arm goes back in, and it's all to the time of the body going up. So every time the body goes up, an arm comes out, and it just had like this really good rhythm to it. And that was my first, well, one of my first times where I like really tried to make something look good and like fun, because like rhythm and having like a timing makes things look more, makes them look more alive, I guess. I don't know why I put a power star in there. That was the last item that he threw out. I just thought it was really random. So if Fortnite ever puts any sort of Mario-esque stuff in there, you know they stole it from me. Now you're gonna start to see a lot more movement with the talking, because like before, whenever he would talk, I really wouldn't have him move too much. He really wasn't like super animated. Like I would just focus on the mouth I would rely on the mouth for the movements to make it feel like he's alive. But now I started to actually like get like a little bit of a rhythm with the way he talks, because like when we talk as humans, like, you know, we move and we talk with our hands, and our head kind of moves around, and we don't just sit there and talk like this, because that's just really boring to look. I mean, if you know someone who does that, you might want to stop hanging around with him. So as you can see here, he starts to get a little bit more rhythm when it's talk. So he says like, let me loot before you shoot, and he kind of like bobs back and forth with the timing of what he's saying. And but even then, even though the frames are like, the key poses are a lot more dramatic, they're a lot more different, I'm still skewing stuff. As you can see here, he's got a case of fathead here. So I'm still skewing the frames, but I'm doing bigger changes, so that's kind of a good thing, I guess. Alright, so this scene was actually a little weird to do, because when I watch Jacksepticeye's videos, I sort of imagine what I can animate to his voice. So I'll try to think of scenarios that I could draw, and I don't really write down the whole scenario. I just write down like a note, because I usually start animating like as soon as I'm done watching the video. But with this one, like I said, I took a break for a while, so I had the audio all ready to go, but I forgot what the jokes were. Like, I forgot what I was going to draw. So for this part, I don't know what I was originally going to draw, but this is what I sort of had to come up with on the spot. And what I wanted to do, because he's in this house and he sees someone coming, so he's like, you know, it's like a very tension moment. But I didn't know how to make that funny, because I didn't want to just have like some guy walk up. So I thought it'd be really funny if he dropped out of the sky and like broke his leg. So we have a guy here who lands. So this is supposed to be outside. I don't know if I really did a good enough illusion, because that sort of just looks like a weird wall TV. I don't know. This is supposed to be a window looking outside. And this guy here lands, and his bone is sticking out. And then he looks around, and then he finally notices the bone, and he freaks out about it. But what was funny is that Jack doesn't really seem to take notice to what is happening outside. So I thought that was really funny because Jack seems like he's really concerned about this guy who's coming. But so I thought it'd be really funny if something like horrible was happening to this dude in the background, and Jack was still like, oh, panicking about the guy coming. So I wanted to draw something really funny with that. So with this, I actually drew. So he comes down, he's tweened as he comes down, but as soon as he lands, I squash him, and then I drew different legs, and I actually draw the bone come up a little bit. And I was like, oh, look at that. His bone's sticking out of his knee. So I didn't actually redraw the whole character, but I did redraw the leg as the bone came out, so I was kind of proud of that. All right, so then Jack sort of like, you know, hides, gets away from the window, because he's still concerned about the intruder. So as Jack is talking, because Jack is all worried that this guy's going to come kick his ass, I thought it'd be funny if, as Jack was talking, more horrible shit was happening to this poor fellow. So I drew this weird squirrel creature, I don't know what it is, and I was funny that he was already like a skeleton, like in the matter of seconds. So I drew him as a skeleton, and while Jack is doing his little speech about what he's going to do, what his plan is, and all that jazz, this little squirrel creature grabs this guy's lower leg bone and runs away with it. And this is another case of me starting to do a lot more frame by frame. So here's a frame, here's a frame, here's a frame, and then the whole run cycle, even though the run cycle is a little rough, is all separate frames of me drawing the creature going across. So I didn't tween anything, I didn't do any of that stuff. So I'm starting to get better. The little pieces here and there of me getting better. And I just thought that was funny to have him like run away, because I didn't know what to do. Because I listened to the audio and I'm like, Jack is just talking this entire time. He's not saying anything particularly like funny. So I don't know what I had planned here. So this is what I came up with. I don't know what I had originally planned for this part, because I knew I wanted something happening while Jack was talking. Like I want something happening in the background, but I thought it was pretty funny. Yes. So this is another part where I forgot what I was gonna draw, because I had him saying that the circle killed him before, and that it's embarrassing to get killed by the circle. And what he means is the play zone in Fortnite, it shrinks as you play the game, and if you're outside of the zone, you get hurt over time. At least I think that's how it works. So the circle is not like an actual thing. It's not like an actual mechanic in the game. So I wanted to like, I didn't know what I was supposed to draw for that, because I was like, I had a joke for it, but what was the joke? And I thought, okay, it'd be funny if I turned the circle into an actual creature, like an actual character in the game. Like the circle is running around killing people. So that's what I don't know why I drew it like this, but I just thought it was really funny to have him pop out and then pull out a knife or something. And I don't know where I got this idea from. I just literally drew a circle with a mustache. I don't know why he has a top hat. I don't know why he has a knife. It's basically just like a demon hula hoop that goes around stabbing people. But he's very dapper about it, I guess. So I added my own stinger sound, that creepy shrieking noise. I just thought it was really funny and really odd, because it breaks the flow of the animation, because like that's not anything that was in Jack's original audio. So I just thought it was funny to just break up the animation with something completely new. All right, so here we have the last scene. I still have no idea what I was originally going to draw for this, so I knew I wanted to have him shooting something, but I don't know too much about guns, and drawing guns is not necessarily my forte. But I knew that Fortnite had some sort of like weird, stylish guns to it. At least I think it does, because I looked at some like screenshots of different things. So I wanted to have like this really normal. That's why this doesn't like look right. Is because I started drawing the gun first, and I was like, I'll just draw like a standard gun. But then it didn't look that funny. So then I was like, oh, I'll draw like this really weird cartoony scope onto it, and I don't know. It looks funny, but then like the scope is really detailed and has like a lot of color to it. And then the gun is like super boring and like almost kind of like matches his fur color. But I'm not good at designing things, so that's what we got instead. But here's where I actually started to use a lot more timing, and timing is really important in animation. So here we have him shoot, and the gun recoils. And then the next frame, his eyes close. So the gun recoils first, and then in response to the gun recoiling, his eyes close. So it made a lot more sense time-wise, and then the gun kind of recoils back. And then a couple frames later, he opens his eyes, and then notices that he hit his target. So the gun I tweened, the gun goes up and then down. And then him, I sort of did a little bit of anticipation, even though these are there's no in-between frames, really. It's just like key poses. So he kind of like goes up, and then the gun kind of stays suspended for a second, and goes up as his arms kind of go up. So this was kind of a nice little anticipation, because he goes up and then goes down. I mean, even now I look at that and I'm like, eh, but it was cool at the time when I was doing it. And then he kind of like celebrates. Got this big open pose, but again, I'm still kind of just like blurring things. So there's a lot of really jerky movement, and it's really jittery. There's not like a lot of smoothness to it, but you'll see as I go through the next couple animations that it does kind of get a lot more smoother. So of course, it ends with him saying holy balls. I had no idea what I originally intended for this to be, so I literally just drew holy balls. I don't know. I drew two spheres with a halo on it. I thought it was funny. And I wanted to do something like really dramatic. Like I wanted the animation to end on something that was really disjointed from the rest of the animation. So it starts to just zoom in on the balls and have like this heavenly music that I added in there. And then just like abruptly cuts to the credits. I thought that was a really funny way to end it, because otherwise I didn't really know what to do. Because he says holy balls, and I'm like, that's funny, but I want there to be something else. I want there to be like a little bit more. So I added a little bit of a dramatic zoom on these holy balls here. So hopefully it was effective. Hopefully it was funny. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I really enjoyed doing this, and I'm gonna do the Spider-Man one next, and hopefully after that I'll do the Bendy and the Ink Machine Chapter 4. I don't know if that animation will be out by the time this video comes out, but if it isn't, it should be coming out very shortly, because I'm almost done with it. Also, if you'd like to get your name on the Awesome Wall of Cats, you can support me on Patreon. You can also check out my artwork on Instagram, and you can check out my comics on Webtoon. If you want to see me animate any videos, let me know in the comments. Right now I have 2 Jacksepticeye cartoons that I'm going to be working on, and then a Markiplier one. And then after that, I don't have any more planned. But I'd like to do Game Grumps, some episode of them. So if you guys have any YouTubers or any sort of specific videos you want to see me animate, let me know in the comments below. So yeah, support me on Patreon, check out my Instagram, check out my comics on Webtoon. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time, and stay tuned, everybody.